Fight, Owens, fight.
Fight,
Owens, fight.
Fight,
Owens, fight.
You deserve it!
Win, Owens, win.
Fatality.
Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens. Champion of the universe. Okay, and that's all I'm going to say about that, because it's been a week since that, and even more, because I have no idea when this podcast is going to go up. If you count some snippets of my Twitter and Tumblr accounts, you might have noticed that I was quite thrilled of the prospect of Kevin Owens being the champion of the universe. But anyway, everything that's been said about him and that prospect, not the stable over at WCW,
No, definitely not that.
which they've been demoted to comic relief villains at this point.
You know what I'm gonna say here? You know what I'm hoping right now? If Finn Balor basically returns and fights Kevin Owens for the championship.
You know, if Finn Balor actually recovers from the injury, he could come back by the time the Royal Rumble comes around, win it, and face whomever is the champion in the main event of WrestleMania 33. And at this point I'm pondering, what if Kevin Owens just happened to have another feud with Sami Zayn?
Oh.
And Sami Zayn wins.
Oh.
Then we would have Finn Balor versus Sami Zayn, which I think is a match that's yet to happen in WWE, even counting NXT.
Right.
So that's something.
That's another something to consider.
That's a match I want to see in 2016. Finn Balor versus Sami Zayn.
That would be cool.
Anyway, so that's all I'm going to say about that, because we're not going to talk about something topical in this podcast, which is convenient for me, because it basically means I can upload it whenever I want. Instead, we're going to be looking at the past of WWE to do something that it has been exploding in popularity as of late, thanks to Mr. WCPW Adam Dumplier, Adam Blumpier.
Adam Dumplier.
Yes. And that is wrestling fantasy booking. You know? Yes. Everybody's been doing it. I started doing it before it was cool doing it, in my mind at least. I always thought, I would have done this way, I would have done this other thing this way, but I never, bothered or dared to say that out loud because I don't want to pass up as a weirdo.
Well,
but thanks to Adam Blampier, who popularized the practice on an internet mainstream level, if you will, now I feel compelled to throw in my nickel of wisdom into the bin of nickels of wisdom, if you will, and share with you how I would have booked a very specific angle from my era of wrestling watching, that is. And my era happens to be the so-called ruthless aggression, for better and for worse and for even worse.
I want to confess something here, since me and a friend of mine did fantasy booking, but using whatever modern WWE, WF video game that came out at the time, and we decided to put the AI against each other and then pretend to be the commentators, and we just go with that for booking.
That seems fun. I owned quite a few games of the WWE line. But every time, you know what I did?
Yeah.
I just went along with the actual show and changed all the championship belts and their holders accordingly, which is kind of a waste, really.
Yeah, but I'm going to give you two examples of two of the funniest moments of that particular booking style. And that was, one, we had a a championship match of Mark Jindrak versus JBL, and he put on a great match, strangely enough.
I don't remember Jindrak in the slightest.
I have no idea if anyone does.
I mean, I remember the darndest athletes. But I don't remember freaking Mark Jindrak.
The hilarious one was the second match we had on, where basically we had Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle, and at one point, the AI derped so hard, they stopped and stood still, stared at each other from across the room they were stood in. And
I remember the Dicks, which was an actual tag team that existed, but I don't remember Mark Jindrak. I'll be damned. I remember Grandmaster Sexay. I remember. Damn it! I remember the Patriot from 1997. I don't remember who Mark Jindrak was. Damn it!
How about Brian Kendrick before the Cruiserweight Classics?
Oh, no, I remember him quite well.
Oh, good, because my brother couldn't remember him at all.
Oh, he was quite prominent at some point. I mean, him and Paul London were the longest holders of the WWE Tag Team Championship before the New Day took the record recently. So, yeah, and then the Brian Kendrick added an article before Brian Kendrick and started his short-lived single run in which he almost became WWE champion in 2008 under, well, you know, disreputable circumstances. And then he did something wrong. And he went to have a career in TNA, which was worse somehow than his career in WWE. But then again, it's TNA we're talking about. So, and now, well, it's nice to see Brian Kendrick back, even though he just lost against Kota Ibushi in one heartfelt tearjerker of a match, I dare say.
So yeah, that's...
Daniel Bryan came down from his commentary table to congratulate and hug his friend Brian Kendrick. There were manly tears shared between the two. It was such a good moment.
Aww.
Even though technically Brian Kendrick was wrestling as a heel. Which really makes no sense with his Cinderella story, as they put it. But anyway.
Anyway, so yeah, I've just told you my experience with booking. Fantasy booking, anyway.
Which led to a very precipitous rant about me not remembering who the heck Mark Jindrak was.
And a slight joke about computer AI derping so hard that they just stared at each other like they fell in love with each other.
Nice. Let's get to the fantasy booking part of this fantasy booking podcast.
Right.
Okay, so there are many angles during my period in which I used to watch wrestling proficiently.
Yeah.
Quite a few angles that I would redo or even scratch out of history if possible. The revival of D-Generation X.
Oh, gosh.
Absolutely abysmal. The revival of ECW, even worse. Every John Cena main event match from 2008 onward.
I need the bleach.
And I like John Cena. The reason why I kept watching wrestling so long is because I was actually a fan of John Cena. And I still like him right now, but like everyone else, I got tired of seeing him constantly hogging the main event scene. Him and Randy Orton. Randy Orton, I just couldn't stomach anymore.
Funny that they both came at the same time almost, virtually, too.
Yes, but John Cena is actually charismatic.
Yeah.
And I like his character because it reflects a lot of what he is in real life. And every once in a while, he busts out new, unexpected moves. The same cannot be said for Randy Orton. He is the most complacent wrestler in the company right now, and I cannot stand him.
Right.
Anyway,
anyway,
a lot of things I would change, but there is this one angle that had tortured me, bothered me, for 10 years ever since it happened. I could never, ever, ever recover from how bad this was. And that angle in question is the first Rey Mysterio's World Heavyweight title run.
Ah, no! I need something stronger than bleach to get rid of that.
Eat vodka martini for that. And bleach. So, to my understanding, you stopped watching wrestling right around the time Eddie Guerrero sadly passed away.
Yeah, unfortunate coincidence that I stopped watching at that point.
You know, you chose a perfect time to stop watching it altogether because the way they exploited Eddie Guerrero's name to put over Rey Mysterio in the worst, most forced and sleazy way possible was just hard to watch in many ways. I mean, his entrance at the Royal Rumble 2006 match. He came in riding Eddie Guerrero's lowride car. Doing the same motions. El Corazon. His shoulder movement, you know?
Yes, I know the shoulder.
It was awful. And then once in the ring, Triple H, which was entrance number 1, basically said to him, Eddie Guerrero from the heavens will not help you. And that was only the beginning of how bad this was going to get.
Yeah,
But equally bad for other reasons is the fact that Rey Mysterio during this whole time looked weak and pathetic as all hell. He had a good underdog story going in, but the difference between an underdog and a loser is that the underdog rises to the occasion against all odds and wins, damn it! Rey Mysterio lost against everyone on free television. Even in the match where he won the title for the first time at WrestleMania 22, which despite that is still one of my favorites, WrestleManias.
Yeah.
Even in that match, he ended up locked in the ankle lock and tapped out immediately, but the referee was distracted by Randy Orton, so the match continued. And then he won! Oh my god.
Even though I missed it, I did brush up on it thanks to certain sources that have covered this. So, yeah, I could probably see why that a lot of people really had a bad taste in their mouth after the whole debacle of that storyline.
And then after he won, he went on to lose clean against the following people. Fit Finlay, Mark Henry, The Great Khali, Mark Henry again.
Was Big Show one of them, or was it just me?
No. Mark Henry was dominating the SmackDown scene at the time, and they could have done so much more with Mark Henry, honestly.
Yeah.
In fact, he plays a big role in my reimagining of that entire angle, which I should start talking about it.
Yes.
I merely do a bit of setting up right now, an overview of the Rey Mysterio world title run, which ended up with him losing against the King Booker!
Oh, gosh.
With interference by Chavo Guerrero. You know, in spite of the silly gimmick, King Booker was actually quite amusing. A breath of fresh air. Besides, Booker T kind of deserved a title reign in a long time. You know, ever since that questionable angle with Triple H in 2003. Yeah, that one that shall not be named.
Yeah.
Oh boy. People complain about John Cena burying people. Triple H made burying people a national sport. And it was worse because he booked himself into burying other people.
Especially digging the graves with the sledgehammers. Yes, it's a shovel sledgehammer.
Anyway, so it's the beginning of 2006.
Right.
Wait, I should do a couple of retroactive changes.
Right.
So in 2005, Rey Mysterio exited from the Eddie Guerrero feud, which took the better part of the year, with all the momentum in the world.
Yes.
It was actually a great feud in spite of the more icky situation at SummerSlam with his son's adoption on the line in a ladder match. It seems a bit sleazy, but actually, from what I've heard, the kid actually had the time of his life during that.
Oh, okay.
So that makes it okay. Really doesn't, but regardless, the feud with Eddie Guerrero was otherwise brilliant. Eddie Guerrero busted out his best heel work to date, completely slowly losing his mind, turning into full psychopathic, obsessed by the fact that he kept losing over and over and over again over Rey Mysterio. That feud did a great job in putting over Rey Mysterio as a babyface, potential main eventer. And even though Eddie lost constantly, he was still put over as a great heel. And he went on to have a championship match against Batista at No Mercy 2005, before sadly passing away. That was a rare example of a feud that actually did a world of good for both the people involved.
Okay.
They squandered Rey Mysterio's momentum immediately by having him lose clean against JBL at No Mercy 2005. And then lose again in a tag team match with Batista against Big Show and Kane at Armageddon. I would change that. Rey Mysterio wins against JBL in 2005, and he wins the tag team match for the team.
That makes sense going into this, you're rebooking strong.
I mean, they were already giving Rey Mysterio plenty of momentum with the feud with Eddie Guerrero. It makes no sense to squander that momentum for no reason. Okay?
Yes, I get that.
So he looks like the underdog, but he actually wins matches. He looks like he can stand in the same pathway than the world champion Batista. Now, cut to the beginning of 2006.
Yes.
We are 4 weeks away from the Royal Rumble, which is the time in which Batista is relinquishing his title because of an injury, and he has to undergo surgery.
Right.
He vacates the title, and Teddy Long, in real life, he announced that the winner of a battle royale later on in the evening would have been crowned the new champion. And Kurt Angle ended up winning that.
Yeah.
I would change a small detail about this.
A different champion.
Yes, but that comes later on. I would have Teddy Long announce that, knowing beforehand that Batista was going to relinquish the title, he had already planned something and proposed it to Vince McMahon, who liked the idea. And so, for the first time ever, the World Heavyweight title will be contested in the Royal Rumble match.
Alright.
Doesn't that sound cool?
It does, actually.
Doesn't that sound compelling? I mean, we are 4 weeks away from the Royal Rumble match. Batista's injury was perfectly timed. And the best part is that clearly in the Royal Rumble match, there are both athletes from SmackDown and Raw.
Yeah.
So the plan is, if a guy from Raw wins the Royal Rumble match, he gets immediately drafted to SmackDown with a new contract, and he's the new champion on SmackDown. Sounds reasonable, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Okay, but we're still going to have, however, a Battle Royale at the end of this episode of SmackDown. And the winner of said Battle Royale will earn the privilege of entering the Royal Rumble as last.
Alright.
Now, we're still going to have Kurt Angle entering the Rumble as a newly signed-in athlete on SmackDown. We need him on SmackDown.
Okay.
He still ends up winning the Battle Royale in the same way he did in real life, by eliminating Mark Henry as last. Basically, nothing different from what happened before goes on in this Battle Royale, and Kurt Angle wins. So basically, because of that, he enters at number 30 in the Royal Rumble match.
Right.
Or so he thinks. Because Randy Orton, also in real life, was not allowed to partake in the Battle Royale because at the time he was wrestling Chris Benoit on behalf of Booker T in the final matches of the Best of 7 series for the US title. It's complicated and stupid, just go with it. So, next week on SmackDown,
Right.
Randy Orton loudly complains with Teddy Long that he was not in the Battle Royale and he deserves a shot at entering at number 30.
Right.
You know how heel general managers always favored the bad guys?
Yeah.
Well, Teddy Long was like that, but for the good guys. I mean, seriously. Rey Mysterio lost his title shot against Randy Orton at No Way Out 2006, but Teddy Long still ended up adding him in the main event match because... poor Rey Mysterio, baby, poor baby. Don't worry, you're still in the match. Oh, you deserve it, you poor baby. He was like that. I mean, seriously, the way to completely neuter the credibility of your future world champion.
Yeah.
So anyway, Kurt Angle, being Kurt Angle, this was his most aggressive face yet. It just happens to stroll by and says, you know what? I can beat this punk. I'll put my number in the Rumble on the line just so I can teach this punk a lesson. I never liked him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, so they had a match in the main event. So it looks like Kurt Angle is about to win. He's destroying Randy Orton left and right. Randy Orton has a bit of offense, but Kurt Angle seems unstoppable. You know?
Yes.
Fortunately, as Kurt Angle was about to lock Randy in the ankle lock, Randy reverses it, and Kurt Angle accidentally bumps into the referee, and the referee gets knocked out. And then Mark Henry comes in, and he pulverizes Kurt Angle with the world's strongest slam, and Randy Orton pins him as the referee,
comes to.
1, 2, 3. Randy Orton enters at number 30. Just like he did in real life. Okay. Now, let's talk about Mark Henry. What was he doing at this time? They were building Mark Henry as a beast during this period. At this point in time, Mark Henry is an unstoppable beast. He beats people up.
Yeah.
In kayfabe, he is deemed responsible for injuring Batista. So that gives him a lot of momentum that we should not squander, am I right?
Yeah, that's I would agree with that.
Which they did squander in real life in multiple occasions, but anyway. So, Randy Orton, as we said, is now the number 30 entrance in the Royal Rumble match. Now, in the build-up for the event itself, Rey Mysterio has a series of matches against people, one of which should be against Chris Benoit, because I want to see that.
Yes, who wouldn't want to see it at that time?
And he wins every time. And also he manages to pull off, one might say, an upset win against Chris Benoit himself. The two shakes hand, and that's it. That happens in the last show before the Rumble match. So Rey Mysterio is having single competitions, and he wins every time. Okay?
Yeah.
Mark Henry is having single competitions, and he squashes people. I remember him beating Matt Hardy. So we're keeping a select few of athletes in the SmackDown roster strong for the impending Royal Rumble event.
Right.
But we are not, however, what we are not doing is having Mark Henry fighting Rey Mysterio.
Right.
I would not do that. Not right now, at the very least.
Yeah, I would not do that either.
We need to keep these two strong.
I see what you're doing here, by the way,
yes,
but I'm going to let you continue.
It's obvious what I'm doing here. This is foreshadowing.
Yeah.
We're not having the two of them fight each other and risking to completely ruin their respective momentums. Okay?
Right.
So, meanwhile, Kurt Angle is angry with Mark Henry. Randy Orton brags a little bit. He was going to win. He has all the advantage in the world. It's his destiny and whatnot. Rey Mysterio wins matches. And here's something cute that we could have.
Yeah, what's the cute thing we're gonna have?
In the main event of the last show before the Royal Rumble match, we should have Mark Henry facing Kurt Angle in a lumberjack match. And all the lumberjacks are all the people in the SmackDown roster who are participating in the Rumble match.
Okay.
All of them. Basically, this is just an excuse to have everybody brawl in the middle of the ring, and the actual match ends up in a no contest, and SmackDown goes off the air with everybody fighting each other. The typical pre-Royal Rumble stuff.
Yeah, the chaos ensues before the main pay-per-view even begins.
If all of this had been done right, we should have, both on Raw, in fact, and on SmackDown, a few believable contenders to win the gold at the end of it. This should make the match more interesting, and especially since it has a title on the line, which is something that has not happened since 1993.
That's a very long time ago.
Yes. So, now we get to the actual event.
Yeah?
First, I need some water. I know the tension and the suspense is killing you, but bear with me.
I can bear with it. I just wonder if you can bear with it.
I'm getting excited finally talking about my ideas. Anyway, it's the Royal Rumble match. I think the Royal Rumble match can go pretty much the way it went in real life, with a few noticeable important differences. First of all, Rey Mysterio's entrance is not Eddie Guerrero's entrance.
Yeah, no, we're not going to have that. I wouldn't have that.
In fact, we leave the all Eddie Guerrero spiel out entirely from the show. Rey Mysterio is getting over with his own power, and not because Eddie Guerrero is guiding him from the heavens. Okay?
Yeah, there's none of that.
Okay, so we have Triple H entering at number 1, Rey Mysterio entering at number 2.
Yep.
A few other differences. I would have JBL partake in the Royal Rumble, because otherwise JBL was doing something really stupid, fighting the Boogeyman. It's coming to get you. It's the dumbest. He was a colorful character, but he was not a wrestler. Not in the slightest. So JBL is partaking in the Royal Rumble match. I would have him being eliminated immediately, just, for funsies, basically. But at the very least, he's taking part in the match. And I say he gets eliminated by Bobby Lashley.
Bobby Lashley? Do you mean, that guy who got a push at one point?
He had just begun his career in WWE, and he needed something to break from the mold and getting a push. Eliminating JBL would be a good way to build their match at No Way Out 2006. Now, of course, Mark Henry is part of this Rumble match, which he was not in real life. I'm saying in real life a lot of times.
Well, yeah, because you have to differentiate between what happened in reality compared to your fantasy booking.
In the actual Royal Rumble 2006, Mark Henry had a match with Kurt Angle for the title. It was the main event, and it was absolute garbage.
Eesh.
Yeah, 2006 was not a good year for the Royal Rumble, or anything else, really. Anyway, so key entrances are as such. Mark Henry enters at number 27, which is typically a lucky number for big guys. Kurt Angle enters at number, I'd say, 22. Yes. Seems good enough.
Yeah.
When Mark Henry comes in, he destroys everyone. Okay?
Yeah.
He eliminates a ton of people. I'd say he ties up with Kane for record of eliminations.
Oh.
Well, they had Roman Reigns beat that record, so it doesn't really matter. So they had Mark Henry tie up with Kane for elimination record. He basically eliminates all of the extras, all the less important ones, which is good because I remember this Rumble being particularly cluttered with people at some point.
I can imagine it now. Mark Henry just grabs 2 people at once and chucks them out.
Yes, he world's strongest slam people, he clothesline people, he throws people around, he just, he's a beast. He seems unstoppable. And by the time Randy Orton rolls in at number 30, the only other people remaining in the ring are Mark Henry, Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, Rob Van Dam, Triple H, and Chavo Guerrero, because I don't want to see Chavo Guerrero being eliminated immediately as he was last time.
Yeah, I would be the same.
So we have 6 people left in the ring. 7 with Randy Orton. He is not too eager to get into the ring because Mark Henry is towering over everyone.
Yep.
So Mark Henry is all like, come and get some, you know? But Randy Orton is all like, nope. So Kurt Angle uses the distraction to angle slam him, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. At this point, everybody, and I mean everybody, starts teaming up against Mark Henry. Okay?
Yeah.
Kurt Angle did the angle slam, followed by Chavo Guerrero frog splashing him.
By the way, which was a nice, subtle way to commemorate Eddie Guerrero's career.
Yes, thank you. But Mark Henry is not selling anything. He gets on his knees. So at this point, Triple H pedigrees him.
Yeah.
And then Randy Orton finally decides to come inside the ring and RKO's him. It's still not enough. So everybody just decides, you know what? We're going to take this beast of a man and place him on the ropes so that Rey Mysterio can do his 619. Okay. And then happens. And that happens. And then, finally, mercifully... Oh, wait, I forgot Rob Van Dam.
He has a frog splash of his own, so that means double frog splash.
Yeah. Okay, what I would do is having both Chavo Guerrero and Rob Van Dam doing a frog splash to Mark Henry at the same time. He's big enough to do that. Or at the very least, I'd say a frog splash followed immediately by a 5-star frog splash.
Yeah, one after the other, I would say, would be more safer.
Yeah, so, again, after everyone has done their own finishers, finally, mercifully, they all together push Mark Henry out of the ring. He's eliminated. He looks dizzy, but he can still walk.
Yeah.
So Mark Henry is out of the Rumble, but he looks still strong. He looks still like a beast.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit afterwards, Triple H eliminates Chavo Guerrero in the same way he did in real life. Okay?
Okay.
Now it's Kurt Angle's turn to start dominating everybody. He angle slams people, he belly-to-belly suplex people, he German suplex people, he's unstoppable, right?
Yeah.
Except Randy Orton, of all people, manages to sneak in an RKO on him.
Of course, that makes sense for Randy.
Yes. And then, Rey Mysterio and Rob Van Dam double team him to eliminate him successfully, which is a nice callback to the time in which they were tag team partners. So, we have the final 4. Rob Van Dam, Rey Mysterio, Triple H, and Randy Orton. Just like in real life. And just like in real life, this all basically goes the same way it did.
Right then.
With Rey Mysterio winning the match in the most convincing way possible. So Rey Mysterio is crowned the new World Heavyweight Champion.
That sounds very good. Yeah,
yes.
and really, it would be a very awesome celebration, especially what happened beforehand.
So, yes, Rey Mysterio wins. He looks strong. He is the new champ.
Right.
Everything is right with the world, and no Eddie Guerrero being mentioned anywhere. Well, except when they do the frog splash, but that is appropriate.
Yeah, it's a subtle one, at least.
Anyway, so Rey Mysterio is the champ, and his first title defense will be against Randy Orton, who just comes out on his face and says to him, "You were lucky last night. I'm the best. I am the best damn wrestler in the roster. It's my destiny to be champion. If you're half the man you look to be, you're going to put that title on the line against me," and what have you. He provokes him, and Rey Mysterio accepts it, and Teddy Long makes it official. So Rey Mysterio will defend the title against Randy Orton at No Way Out 2006.
Right.
Okay?
Yes. And no Eddie Guerrero's in hell thing.
No, please, no.
None of that.
So anyway, that's the main event. But you know what? I still want to have that Kurt Angle versus Undertaker match. And we can still have that, actually, but it's not the main event. It's actually a number one contenders match.
Oh.
Okay, so at this point in time, Mark Henry was taking a month off for whatever reason. So
Yeah.
Kurt Angle comes to the ring and says he's the best because he's Kurt Angle. He
Yeah.
can beat anyone, and he wants a shot at the title. He wants a shot against whomever wins the match between Randy Orton and Rey Mysterio. And who should make his presence known at this point in time, if not the Undertaker, when he does his beat that he did for the Royal Rumble in real life, in which he summons the lightnings and destroys the ring. Okay, so that match is on. The top card of No Way Out 2006 looks like this. Kurt Angle versus The Undertaker for the number one contender spot at WrestleMania 22. Rey Mysterio defending the title against Randy Orton. That's the main event.
Yeah,
Okay.
for the title. Why wouldn't you make it the main event?
Yeah, well, tell that to Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton. Anyway, so Kurt Angle and Taker have the same match they had last time, with Kurt Angle managing to snatch a clean victory over The Undertaker in the most fortuitous way possible,
Right.
and then skedaddling out of the ring, celebrating his victory, leaving Taker pondering in confusion in the middle of the squared circle. And at this point, Mark Henry comes in and he changes the tempo. And he beats up The Undertaker because we have to have Mark Henry and Taker do something at WrestleMania. So they ended up feuding for their casket match at Mania.
Oh.
Okay?
Yeah.
It wasn't a great match, but it's perfectly serviceable to fill up a spot. So we're going to have a feud with Mark Henry and The Undertaker at Mania for the casket match, just like it actually happened.
Yeah.
We're going to keep Mark Henry going strong, obviously, even though he doesn't win that match. But before that, so Kurt Angle is the number one contender for Rey Mysterio's title. And Rey Mysterio actually did defend the title against Randy Orton clean. No shenanigans, no buts, and no ifs. 619, 123. No stupid Randy Orton just grabbing the rope and stealing a victory.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not how a champion loses, if you ask me. So there's that. They are in the middle of the ring right now, discussing future businesses between the two of them for their eventual match at WrestleMania. And who should come down the ring if not Randy Orton, being the sorest of all losers?
Yeah.
This is not right. This is not right. That was a fluke. I am the best. And I should be in the title picture, especially since I beat you already, Kurt Angle. I am better than you. I am the only champion that this roster deserves and whatnot. At this point in time, Randy Orton was doing his whiny, coward heel shtick. That was far more interesting than anything he ended up doing later on,
Yeah.
if you ask me. Teddy Long does not agree with that. Randy had his chance. Kurt Angle!
Yeah.
Kurt Angle!
Yes.
Being Kurt Angle, I still need to teach this punk a lesson. He could never beat me if it wasn't for Mark Henry. I beat The Undertaker. So Teddy Long decides for a compromise because Kurt Angle is not the kind of guy you want to trifle with.
Yeah.
And he sets up a match, a singles competition between Randy Orton and Kurt Angle. Again,
Okay.
if Angle wins, Randy is out of the picture entirely. But if Randy wins, he is added to the match and it becomes a triple threat. Just like it actually happened. So we get to the main event. Rey Mysterio is sitting on the commentator's table to comment over the match, as one is usually want to do in this kind of situations. Is giving the guys his ideas about Kurt Angle, his thoughts about Randy Orton, and he says that he's a fighting champion, will defend the title against everybody. He earned it. He was the underdog. Now he's the top dog. Whether they like it or not, you know?
Yeah, I get you.
Now, we had the quote-unquote match between Orton and Angle, and Orton makes a point to let us know that he noticed that Rey Mysterio was sitting there. The announcers make a point to let us know that Randy Orton noticed Mysterio sitting there. Okay? It's important.
Okay.
It's important.
Okay. So everyone notices. Everyone just goes, points to Rey Mysterio with a big neon sign.
Okay. Yes, champion sitting there. Have you noticed it yet? Yes, yes you have. So as soon as the bell rings, like the second the bell rings and the match starts, Randy Orton skedaddles out of the ring, goes up to Rey Mysterio, and slaps him in the face. Then he runs back into the ring. Rey Mysterio, obviously angered, just chases after him and starts to attack him, causing the match to end in a DQ.
God damn it.
So Randy Orton wins the match in the most sleazy way possible and inserts himself in the main event of SmackDown in the worst possible way. This does not make him look strong, but it does make him look smart. A smart villain.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle is obviously pissed and starts to have a very animated argument with Rey Mysterio, which may or may not end up in a fight. We don't know because SmackDown goes off air. And the last image of SmackDown we get is Randy Orton in the ramp, just doing his usual pose, his glorious pose, look how great I am.
Yes, look at how glorious my body poses.
Glorious! You know, with his open arms, racing in the air.
With a smug look on his face.
Yes, eyes closed, feeling the electricity in the air. And he's drowned in booze, obviously. So the build-up to the actual match at WrestleMania is, well, the same it has been before. One week a guy looks strong, another week the other guy looks strong, etc., etc.
Right.
We do not, however, have Rey Mysterio lose clean against Kurt Angle in the last show before Mania, because that would be stupid.
Yes.
So we have the WrestleMania match. Okay?
Okay.
We have the WrestleMania match. And Rey Mysterio wins the match and retains the title. He does not, however, tap out to the ankle lock while the referee was distracted. As a matter of fact, nobody taps out to the ankle lock while the referee is distracted. Not even Randy Orton. That's dumb.
Yeah.
So Rey Mysterio wins the match by pinning Randy Orton once again. At this point in time, he's been champion since the Royal Rumble. He's had one solid run so far.
Yep.
And that's where Mark Henry finally comes into play.
Oh.
To be continued.